Hello and welcome to Between the T's, the knowledge sharing program from Texas Bank and Trust. I'm your host, Aaron May. Today we're discussing a serious and increasingly important topic affecting many people across our country, especially older adults. That topic is elder abuse. For many millennials like myself, our parents and grandparents are entering stages of life where changes in physical and mental health may make them more dependent on others for daily care and support. In many cases, that means relying on caregivers to help manage everything, from household tasks to personal needs and even finances. But what happens if those caregivers don't have our best interest at heart? And on top of that, the growing sophistication of artificial intelligence has made scams harder to recognize, even for those among us who consider themselves cautious and informed. So without the right safeguards and without trusted support in place, seniors can find themselves facing the perfect storm of risks, including financial exploitation, emotional mistreatment, and even physical abuse. So to help us understand these challenges and how families can protect their loved ones, I'm joined today by two outstanding guests. First is Kristen Ishihara, a longtime elder law and estate planning attorney with the Ishihara and Parker Law Firm in Longview, Texas. My second guest is Elizabeth Hutchison, Vice President and Wealth and Trust Officer with Texas Bank and Trust's Wealth Management Division. Elizabeth helps clients with estate planning, investment needs, and strategies to help safeguard assets for future generations. Before we get started, keep in mind that the information that we are discussing today is for educational purposes only. So please be sure to seek your own legal and financial advice with a trained professional in your area. Also, the investment products offered by Texas Bank and Trust are not obligations of Texas Bank and Trust, not guaranteed by Texas Bank and Trust, not insured by the FDIC or any other federal government agency, and may go down in value. Kristen and Elizabeth, thank you both for being on the program with me today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having us.
Sounds like a mouthful.
That's a mouthful.
That's a lot we have to say, but it's definitely important because we want people to know that we love talking about finances and we love talking about things that can really help people. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you need to speak with someone directly about your situation because
Absolutely.
Everybody's situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk a little bit about something that we've seen a lot, especially with the rise in artificial intelligence and all of this stuff. We see the scams becoming so sophisticated that even young individuals are getting fooled to give their money away through all sorts of scams. And the things that used to be our markers of, oh, you can tell this is fake because, oh, the grammar is bad or this bad. Those things are harder to detect now. And that's harder to detect for younger individuals. I can imagine what it's like for our parents. You know, I have... my parents have both passed away, but my wife's parents are still around and they're in their 60s and grandparents in their 90s. We have generations that rely on us. But at the same time, these generations that rely on us are also becoming more susceptible to being victims of these type of situations. So let's talk a little bit about that. Kristen, tell me a little about your experience as an elder law attorney and what got you into that?
Oh, sure. I am the kind of lawyer that doesn't like to fight people. So I really just enjoy helping people make sure that they have trusted individuals that they have in place. So if we do get to a situation where that they need help either paying bills or answering questions, I've gotten an email. It was for a while, lots of mail, lottery sweepstakes that you were sending them and you had to send them some money back to claim it or other things. And now mostly what I see is online or kind of a long con relationship that they're building with the senior. Right. But certainly the landscape is changing there and it requires having open communication with loved ones that you trust to help you navigate those things.
So one thing that's always been confusing to me is how someone actually gets pulled into these online dating scams. Because they're not, most of the times when I hear people talk about them, they're not talking about, I met someone on one of the popular dating sites.
Sure.
They found them through a chat room of a game or something like that. How does Like, I'm just trying to logically think of why would that be the place that people would fall in love with someone?
Yeah, it's loneliness. I think Elizabeth said that before we started. The primary driver of the situation that I see with seniors is just loneliness.
Yeah.
So it's often going to be a single spouse who's been widowed, who had a relationship of 50, 60 years, and all of a sudden that person's not there.
Right.
You're looking for a support system and you don't know where to find it. So when it finds you in whatever way that it appears to you, it might be a Facebook message, it might be somebody calling you, appearing at your door, you are just immediately susceptible to that person because you need somebody to talk to.
Do you have any examples of something like that that's happened?
I have many clients who have been scammed primarily by phone, but it starts in some sort of chat, like you mentioned. I don't think it's ever been a gaming chat, but it could be a Facebook or it could be a pop-up on their computer.
Right.
My grandmother got a pop-up like your computer has a bug. You need to call this person immediately. So she did. She called the number immediately and started giving them access to her computer to fix it. She didn't end up losing anything because her kids got involved fast enough.
Right.
But usually it's somehow they're asking the senior to call them through some other means of starting that conversation. And once you have them on the phone, you are building a relationship with someone who is hungry for it. So, yes, ma'am, I am interested in this and tell me more about this. And all of a sudden we have a long distance relationship that is filling a need that they have.
Yeah. Elizabeth, what have you seen in this type of interaction?
I hear about, you need to go get these gift cards and, go to the bank and, you need $30,000, $40,000 for XYZ or, something else, urgency. Like, you know what, when you're retired, you're pretty chill. Your life is pretty even.
Yeah.
And then someone approaches you like, I need money right now. Someone's in jail, blah, blah, blah. Does that really happen? Like, just take a moment, pause. Maybe reach out to your banker.
Right.
Like, does this sound right to you?
Yeah.
Maybe have a good relationship with your banker. See someone face to face. Get off the phone. Get off the internet. Go see a real life human.
Yeah.
That would be my advice and something I've seen before and heard before. Just, occasions of fraud that we hear about throughout the bank. And, just slow down a minute. Calm down.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think everything is on fire.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's varying levels of things too. So like the urgency one is one that can get any age. You contact me and you tell me there's a warrant out for me and I, can't get off the phone and I'm worried about it.
Right.
That certainly gets seniors because they don't, they just don't process it. And sometimes they're embarrassed. I've had a successful career for decades. I'm used to being in charge and not having to ask somebody if I should send $5,000 to this person because I know I should.
Right.
The relationship one is the one that I see devastate more people because it's the longer, bigger money. I need help paying off my house. I need help doing this.
It's probably very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yes, both are. And I think that's why it goes unreported. Yeah. But the relationships that I've seen, you don't always get them to understand that the relationship's not real.
Wow.
You usually can show someone that a scam has happened if they've lost a short-term financial bit, but if they have a relationship, they're gonna start hiding it from you because they want to maintain it.
So you think it's pride, or do you think it's what do you think drives that wanting to? I don't want someone to see that.
Well, maybe they don't want it to end,
They don't want it to end.
Well,
with the relationship, yes. Yeah. That is we mentioned before we started protecting you from yourself.
Yeah.
That is that avenue where you are making a continued bad decision and you can't see it. Wow. Nobody can convince you that you're wrong. You have a relationship with this person and they love you more than anything else.
Yeah.
If I have the access to the person or the kids ahead of time, the best way to negate that one is to help mom not be lonely.
Right.
She needs a Sunday school group. She needs a bunco group. She needs someone that picks her up for lunch every week or takes her to the hairdresser. So if the kids live out of town, it is your responsibility to make sure that mom has those resources in her life if it's not you.
Right.
So that she has enough engagement socially every day.
Definitely.
And these scammers are so talented and well-versed. And they know what the elderly people want, and not even just elderly people, like anybody. I've had somebody call and tell me that I had a warrant out for my arrest, and I was like, what? And so, hey, let me call my attorney friend and see what's going on. No. If you hang up, you're gonna you're going to go to jail, lady.
Wow.
Like, well, I guess come get me. I'm hanging up.
Yeah. Wow. And speaking back to the senior side of it, one of the things that I looked up from the Department of Justice in 2025, their report on elder fraud and abuse, they said that more than $2 billion was lost in the year 2025 from elder abuse. And this is just the financial side of crimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. And it is definitely underreported for either not recognizing it as the crime that it is, if it's a family member, doing that, or embarrassment or pride that stops somebody from actually reporting it.
Yeah.
It's just devastating.
Absolutely. That kind of what you just transitioned to is what I was going to say next. Sometimes the scammers or the fraudster isn't only AI, and it isn't only some distant call center in another country. Sometimes it's the people you care about the most. Sometimes it's the people that you thought, I can trust them. And you see that a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I think actually the numbers say 90% is family.
Wow.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's kids. It could be extended family.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the culprit is still loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a kid that I knew was responsible and I could appoint them, hopefully I've done that.
Yeah.
Sometimes people delay because they don't have good choices.
Right.
And so you have to kind of generate that good choice yourself, either by making a banker friend and using a corporate fiduciary, finding a neighbor that's trustworthy. You might have to actively seek that out. But if you don't have a good family choice, the failure to make the choice leaves you vulnerable to someone coming in. Once you are lonely, susceptible, you're going to sign powers of attorney, you're going to add somebody to your bank account, and all of a sudden they're able to access anything that you have.
Wow. So what are those warning signs? I guess first off, as we talk about the warning signs, what is also the motivators? What motivates the person to want to take advantage of someone like that?
Well, seniors have the wealth, right? I mean, I could scam my teenager, but I'm not getting much out of it. So, that's the target because it works and it's profitable.
Yeah.
And it often goes unreported. If I'm a child and I'm scamming mom, is she going to turn me in?
Right.
No.
Probably not. The risk is very low.
Right.
And those scammers, because it's online or because it's virtual, I don't think they even really necessarily have much you can do about it, even if you do report it.
Yeah.
So the risk is very low, whether you are a family member or that, virtual scammer, bad guy out there. But with family members, usually people are just not reporting it.
Yeah. I saw, the National Council on Aging, one of their statistics, I think it was 1 in 24 cases are unreported, but I know you've heard a statistic different than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even higher.
Yeah.
Which we're just, kind of guessing, I suppose, but certainly is true. I mean, anybody that I see has not reported it.
Right.
To rise to the level of being criminal is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So there's almost no reason to report it, even if you wanted to.
So what would explain that a little bit? So it doesn't rise to the level of being criminal. So that's probably why things go unreported, because it's like, what's going to happen?
Right.
What are the repercussions?
Right. I'm not going to get my money back because it's gone.
Yeah.
So
I had a guardianship a long time ago, and there was a healthcare worker. We had the guardian of the person had a credit card, and they used that to go buy her toiletries and her food and whatever. And one of the healthcare people would take her to the store once or twice a week. Well, this one gal decided to buy all sorts of fun stuff with the credit card, and lots of personal items and junk food that we knew she wasn't eating. And anyhow, point is, she racked up a pretty hefty bill, and she didn't go to jail. I mean, we did file charges. She would randomly bring in a $300 check for restitution. Yeah. So, I mean, to your point, there's not always a whole lot that happens to the person after the fact. And I mean, it's really sad because that's, who knows how much money they spend, and will you get it back? And you can't get blood from a turnip, right? If it's already spent, it's spent. Right. So, okay, maybe they do go to jail, or maybe nothing at all, but your money's not there anymore.
Right. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Karen Partee with the TBT Financial Minute. From job loss to medical expenses, life is full of the unexpected. Be prepared with an emergency cash fund. Save up enough money to cover 3 to 6 months of household expenses and put it in an accessible savings or money market account. Should a crisis occur, you'll be prepared. Learn more at texasbankandtrust.com. TBT Financial Minute is brought to you by Texas Bank and Trust.
There's a place in a land we love, forged from a fight for freedom and independence, where honor and tradition remain the hallmarks of hope. Rugged idealism and bold adventure sets it apart, as faith and family looms large in men's hearts. From east to west you will find it's more than a state, it's a state of mind. Texas Bank and Trust, always Texas strong.
All right, we're back with Kristen Ishihara from the Ishihara and Parker Law Firm and Elizabeth Hutchison from the Wealth Management Division at Texas Bank and Trust. We're continuing our conversation about elder abuse and some of the scams and abuseful situations that many of our seniors could potentially be victims of. But remember, as we continue this conversation, that the information we're discussing is for educational purposes only. So be sure that you speak with a trained legal professional or financial professional in your area about your specific needs. So let's talk about some of the warning signs, some of the things that people can recognize when I say, hey, my mom's been spending a lot of time with this new guy, and I don't know if I can trust him. I got a gut feeling about him, but she's wanting to take him out to dinner every night, or they're, moving in together, like some things like that start to make me wonder what's going on. What are some of those red flags that I should be looking for?
Mm-hmm. Well, but too, are they incapacitated? Well, if they're not, maybe they're just lonely. Sorry, kid, you may not be able to do anything about that.
Just like my teenager dating. Yes.
Grow up. Mom's got a boyfriend.
Yes, sometimes that's the case. That's right. Yeah. I would love for families.
I guess that's what it means. Like, how do you know the difference between mom's just moved on after the loss of my father to this guy? He's got some ulterior motive. Like, how do I recognize the difference?
I think you have to be regularly. I would love if families had regular family meetings around family events. So you have the structure in place, so it's obvious when there's a warning sign.
Yeah.
So if mom or dad is retiring, it's a good time for a family meeting. What are we retiring to? What are we going to do at this time?
Right.
What do our finances look like? We're sharing with all the responsible people in the family. When a spouse dies, you need to, as a family, have a plan for how you're supporting the surviving spouse, not just letting her figure. I always say her, but statistically that's going to be her.
Right.
Letting her figure it out on her own. What are the things that you have in place for mom or you're putting in place for her so you do know when this happens?
Yeah.
And then where did she meet this guy? Was it at church? Was it online? Was it, you're having enough communication that you are aware. And then just like my teenager dating, you need to go to dinner with mom's new boyfriend. You need to be involved in it. You need to meet their kids. You need to know what the job was. You just need to insert yourself into the situation so you know if it's a good or bad situation.
Absolutely.
And how to handle it. Because, mom's probably got capacity. And if she wants to have a boyfriend, tough break.
Yeah.
And again, early and often, you ask, how often do you have these conversations? Just keep an open dialogue.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with asking mom to invite you in to look at some of the finances.
Yeah.
It may be a hard conversation at first. I've had to do it with my parents recently, and it's not easy.
Right.
But it's just something you have to do.
Absolutely.
To protect them.
Yeah, I think it's very effective when you can say, hey, here's what happened to a friend that I saw, and I'd love to avoid this. Here's what, I saw go wrong. Here's what maybe we could do that would make it better for us.
Yeah. So, are there specific warning signs that I should be looking for?
Oh, yeah. Acting different. So hiding things, so if suddenly mom who's always gone to dinner with you on Saturdays is no longer available, that's something different. If she's drawing out finances, so ideally a child or power of attorney would have access, either just online access to view an account or know if something large was happening.
Right.
Maybe that's just that you have a relationship with your banker, so they might be aware if something unusual is happening. I'm getting $5,000 to buy gift cards, or unavailable or seem like I'm hiding things.
Yeah.
Yeah, just strange behavior, out of the ordinary behavior.
And I also know it's like one of the things that I was looking said that financial abuse is actually one of the lower ends of the spectrum of elder abuse. So I know we always talk about like signs of human trafficking. Like you could see someone who's like very quiet. They're distant. You mentioned like they used to be available on Saturdays for dinner, but now they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are there some of those type of signs that I should be watching for? Like all of a sudden my mom went from being bubbly and happy to now anytime I talk to her, it's kind of a cold or distant or superficial conversation. And then all of a sudden especially when that guy's around, there's a different tone in her voice whenever she talks. Like,
yeah.
Are those things that should I recognize those type of things in my parents?
That one's a little bit hard because a lot of that could just be the aging, just, changes in your brain. Alzheimer's or dementia does actually change the way sometimes you present.
Right.
And in fact, can make you more aggressive or at odds with the person that has always been closest to you because you feel the loss of control of that mental capability and you feel like your child's taking it from you when it's just your brain changing.
Yeah.
But then you take that out on them. So I don't know that it's personality exactly, but it is a change, that you would notice, but it might be blaming me or asking me what you did with my money or why am I no longer sharing bank statements with you? And you're like, Mom, you get the same bank statement you've always gotten for decades. Right. But just those kind of unusual things. So personality change could be part of that, but I don't know that that necessarily means they're abuse. I think that just means that's one of those events family needs to come together and talk about. Here's a change I see happening in Mom. What are we going to do about that?
Okay. So thinking about that avenue of finding out what motivates someone to steal from elderly, what are the warning signs that someone is potentially facing abuse? What are some things, we've kind of talked about this already a couple times about the conversations frequent, but ways that we can help safeguard someone against potential abuse? Like is it mainly just conversation or are there other things that we can do to protect them?
You want to go first?
So something we've done to help safeguard abuse would be freezing credit.
Okay.
There's 3 different credit bureaus and it's free. You can do it online or you can call. And, the chances of her needing to get a new credit card, he or she, whoever, are probably slim. And that would keep someone else, a scammer or a family member from opening a line of credit in her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've got 2 that I would want to mention, and I can certainly give some legal answers too, but having the professional people in your life is very important. So that's probably a financial advisor or wealth management person. That's a banker. That's your doctor. That's your lawyer. That's your CPA. Having all those people organized, connected, in touch with each other, in touch with your kids. All of those things can really help because everybody's got a different pocket that they're overseeing. So I might see a problem, but until I join it with the problem that the CPA is aware of, we're not really recognizing that it's been a problem. So just organizing those things. And then I would say one thing that I think we don't do well is there's usually let's say you have 3 kids. There's usually one kid that's doing all the work.
Yeah.
That daughter or that daughter-in-law, no offense, Aaron. But there's one kid that's kind of taking on the bulk of everything that's happening.
Right.
And I think it's important that as the family looks at how are we going to solve this problem, that person has their own care. If you think about when you had a toddler, you needed a point where you could check out, that I needed to not be responsible for this. And I think that's actually where some of the abuse, neglect, or financial stuff gets into play. If I'm an unpaid but hard-worked caregiver, I can get, it to a place where I'm just not healthy. So maybe I'm taking money out of Mom's account because she should have been paying me for this, or I think I should be getting paid, and I'm figuring it out on my own and not in the right way. So I've actually even seen good kids get to the point of just break because they don't have someone else that's helping them.
Right.
So caregiver burnout is very real, and if we're going to protect seniors, we need to also just make sure that the caregiver has enough people, hopefully, in there to help.
This diverts, but describe what that network looks like for the caregiver support, because that is absolutely one of the things I know I've heard. We keep talking about the surviving widow because statistics do say that men are usually the first ones to die, but also a lot of times women will develop diseases like Alzheimer's and stuff like that. And while Alzheimer's affects the brain, the body is still just as strong. And so the husband, who was the strong one, the caring one, he's taking care of her, but then he ends up dying because of all of the stress of caregiving.
Yeah.
And so having that support network for the caregiver is just as important as having the support network for the senior.
Yep, it sure is. And it just means, again, we're back to communication.
Yeah.
But a lot of times because you just described a very common client for me.
Yeah.
If I'm the father or the husband in that situation, I'm probably not sharing with my kids all that's happening with mom, all that I'm doing. I'm keeping that to myself, and I'm keeping it private, and I'm just working myself to death.
Yep.
And so part of that is accepting help by communicating with the kids what you might need.
Yeah.
A lot of times, a great solution that we're able to do, if we can have kind of that family meeting, and I can say, okay, Dad, I know you've been paying the bills all these years. You're now caring for mom who's going to outlive you. Let's look at having something like a trust set up that you're the trustee of now, that we have in place already, who would immediately be the trustee at your death. There's no gap in making sure mom's stuff is cared for. Let's maybe even go, if there's not kids around, to an assisted living and look at, is this where you might consider moving now together? Because she's going to need care. If you happen to pass away first, she's going to need care right away.
Right.
But thinking through all of those things together as a family helps the caregiver, because now maybe the kids will push you to pay somebody to be there 4 hours a day and give you some time away.
Yeah.
It can be paid people, it can be kids, but you need some sort of plan as a caregiver 24 hours a day. I need some respite. I need to be able to walk away, do other things, be able to go on a vacation or go see my grandkids. You have to, as a family, support that. Or if hopefully you have funds to pay for it, do that too.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Karen Partee with the TBT Financial Minute. Teaching children at an early age to responsibly manage and save money will benefit them throughout their entire lives. Look for teachable moments every day. When you're out shopping, explain how you earn and spend money. Make bill paying a family affair, and help your child open their first savings account. Learn more at texasbankandtrust.com. TBT Financial Minute is brought to you by Texas Bank and Trust.
There's a place in a land we love, forged from a fight for freedom and independence, where honor and tradition remain the hallmarks of hope. Rugged idealism and bold adventure sets it apart, as faith and family looms large in men's hearts. From east to west you will find it's more than a state, it's a state of mind. Texas Bank and Trust, always Texas strong.
All right, we're back once again with Kristen Ishihara from the Ishihara and Parker Law Firm and Elizabeth Hutchison from the Wealth Management Division at Texas Bank and Trust. So, being that we are a financial literacy podcast, let's talk about some of the ways that we can protect the finances of individuals who are going through different phases of life. I know that there's various types of investment methods and strategies or asset protection programs out there. We've talked a little bit about trusts a little bit. Tell me how those types of services can help someone in this type of phase of life. Elizabeth, I'll let you start with that one.
You're looking at me. Well, yeah, we spoke about trusts, and of course you'd want to have a successor lined up, whether that's going to be your kid or a corporate trustee involved. But, your trust doesn't have to be irrevocable. Okay. Like in life, it's just, when you're ready to give it up, you're in capacity or maybe you pass away. But even in life, you can just say, you know what, I am done. Like, I don't want to pay these bills anymore. Like, I need help. And maybe that's your kid, or maybe that is a corporate fiduciary, but you can just relinquish that. And, when you pass away, everything just keeps moving. You don't have to worry about mom. she's going to be taken care of because everything is already moving along. I think I told you earlier, the very first estates I worked on were at the same time. One was an engineer. He had pancreatic cancer, and he brought me a big spreadsheet with all of his finances, all of his bills, everything in perfect order. The name of the company, the account number, the phone number. I mean, like, it was perfect. He knew that he was passing away, and he wanted to make sure that his wife was taken care of.
Right.
And then the other one at the same time that passed away was a landman that was he was kind of messy. And so we went into his apartment, looked like a bachelor pad. There was just a recliner and paper all over the floor. And we were like, oh my gosh. And there was so much stuff in suspense and holy moly. Be organized. Like, while you have your capacity, get your affairs in order.
Right.
Take care of your house. Get your stuff lined up and make sure that even if you don't want to tell your kids now, like, at least get it in order so that when the time comes, you can pass it off.
Yeah.
Don't let pride be a factor or embarrassment, because, I definitely, my kids are young. I don't want them in my business. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
And when they're 40, I may not want them in my business either. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can at least spell it all out.
Yeah.
So when the time comes that I need help, it's there. It's ready for someone else to step in.
They don't need to know how much is in the account. They just need to know that you have it.
Right.
There you go.
Yep. They still don't need to know those kind of things.
And I want to make sure my lights stay on, right?
Right.
Like, I don't want to be in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're using those tools to protect sometimes from yourself, like we've kind of talked about, but then a spouse that, maybe you are just the person that's always done it. And then if you want to protect kids, you can in the way that you do that too.
Yeah.
But I like your points about trustees. We use revocable living trusts as those tools a lot of times, where an individual can be their own trustee.
Yeah.
But if they want to, we reserve the right to appoint a co-trustee. So if I say, hey, TB&T, I don't want to pay my bills anymore. I'm going to appoint you as the co-trustee and you can pay my bills. I can do that with a kid or a corporate fiduciary. If I pass away, I can list spouse and another trustee is a little bit of a safeguard where two of them have to do it, or I can just appoint the other trustee. But you can use that very well and put someone in charge of all the finances that you feel comfortable as trustworthy to make sure that things are taken care of for the beneficiary, because they're not the same people always.
Right.
Yeah, and we've had trusts before where we had a co-trustee and one person was kind of in charge of the person, and we were assigned fiduciary delegation where we took care of all of the finances and the bills and made sure that when the person needed a bill paid for the doctor or, hey, do we have enough money for them to go get veneers? Like, we can tell you, like, we're taking care of it.
Right.
So,
Yep, it can be a real stress reliever. So if I'm that spouse planning for, someone that hasn't paid bills always, I can feel confident that those bills are going to be paid, and I can leave a child who's going to do all of the medical, arrange for living, just do everything. And then if I can, I'm going to want the corporate trustee to pay that child for being a caregiver. So that way that child doesn't feel overburdened or not appreciated, that I've balanced all these things if that's financially possible.
Yeah.
and veneers may be like way off topic, but I've seen that before. Like, I want a bright new smile.
Yeah. Understand. So thinking about, in addition to trusts, you also mentioned guardianship accounts and you mentioned powers of attorney. Like, what are the different types of things that people need to be considering in those sort of realms? Because I know a medical power of attorney is not necessarily the same as a financial power of attorney. And so someone's going to be helping you make all of those sort of decisions. You need someone who actually you feel confident in those different places.
Yep. So. Yeah, those are, everybody over 18 should have a financial and medical power of attorney. They're separate documents, and you should have at least two people listed. And then we do a HIPAA and directive with it, a healthcare authorization and directive to go with the medical power of attorney. You don't have to select the same people, but you do need to have people that you would trust to serve in those roles. And then those end when you pass away. So then you either have a will that would get probated or something like a trust that would help transition assets.
So you say everyone over the age of 18 should have one of those. Why?
Because you don't know what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So if my college-age child gets in a car wreck on the way home and is incapacitated in the hospital, he's an adult. I don't get to make his medical decisions for him. I don't get to sign stuff for him. I don't get to access his bank account. So we assume, until I'm a certain age, I don't need any of this stuff in place. It's not giving up anything to have a power of attorney. It is simply ensuring if something happens where someone needs to utilize this, I've chosen, while I still have capacity to do it, the person that I want to do it.
So how does someone go about doing that? They just contact any law firm? Or
I mean, obviously I'd prefer that you contact somebody that does estate planning, but you can do it with a lawyer. You can also do it online. If you Google, there's statutory forms in Texas for both a statutory durable power of attorney and healthcare power of attorney.
Interesting. Because that's important. I was talking to Craig Chaikin. He's our chief wealth management officer maybe 2 years ago. We were talking about this, and we're talking about for the younger individuals specifically, if you have kids, okay, what happens to your kids if something happens to you? Not every state do the kids automatically go to a family member. And then if they do go to a family member, which one? Yeah. Do you want the court to decide that, or do you want to decide that?
You should sure decide that yourself as a successor guardian, and then that might not be the successor trustee that you want to manage money, right? When you think about minor kids, who I would want to raise my kids may not be the one that I want to manage the life insurance. That's going to be a pretty large amount. So,
right, absolutely. We talked a little bit about this question earlier, but the parent talk. Like, I know we have the talk that parents have with their children as they're growing up, but there's also the talk that happens on the other side where we're planning what happens when we die, what happens to our home, what happens to our assets, all of that stuff. Do we have plans for how we'd want our funeral to be and all of that sort of stuff? Those things that a lot of people don't want to talk about because death is very uncomfortable. But when is a good time to actually have the talk like that?
Yeah. Do you mean like age or just time of?
Maybe age, age,
I mean, anytime you are in person, I would want you to have this conversation in person, maybe give them a heads up that you'd like to talk about it. Yeah. I think that there is always kind of a shallow end into this conversation. Like, hey, mom and dad, we just did our wills. Do you guys have that in place?
Right.
What lawyer did you use when you did that? So some sort of lead in, or like, my friend's parents just had this happen to them. If you had a heart attack like this, what would you want to happen?
That's a good way to approach that.
Coming up with some examples that cause you to ask, not just, hey, mom, dad, how much money you got and where is it and who's going to get it when you die?
Right.
I mean, actually gathering information that you would use to help them in that situation, I think is a better way to start it than just,
I love the idea of using it as I'm seeking advice for myself. Mm-hmm. Who did you use?
Right.
And then it makes them think, I hadn't really thought about that.
Right.
I just have a napkin in the drawer.
Yes. I would say if someone has told you that they have it taken care of, unless they've given you a copy, they do not actually have it taken care of. They're either planning to get it taken care of, or they have it on a napkin that's not valid under Texas law, but they have not done it the right way.
Right. Elizabeth, what do you think?
I mean, really same thing. Early and often, as I said earlier. Early and often. Like you talk to your kids and just make it casual, and it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. I wish I'd made it more casual because, again, it's not an easy conversation when you first jump into it. But, I mean, just it doesn't have to be weird.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's going to die.
Yeah.
Or get old. We're all going to get old, hopefully, right? That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and we have like after death guides and other things that I think are good tools too. So again, I'd probably approach it as like, hey, me and Rich were working on putting this together so that the kids have it if something happened to us. Do you have this kind of, they have like a death box or other things you can buy on Amazon.
Yeah.
But just a list of, hey, have you put this together? So if, you got hit by a bus tomorrow, I would know where to go, asking them to do it and then telling you where they're going to keep it.
Yeah.
And two, making sure that you carry out their wishes, not what you think they would want. I think that's really important too. And to make sure they understand that you're not just trying to look at all their financial information. You're not trying to be nosy.
Right.
You want to make sure that things line up the way they want them to.
Yeah. I know for me personally, I had that experience. You mentioned, Kristen, you mentioned a death box. That's something my wife and I have talked about setting up for ourselves, because when my mom passed away, there was nothing like that. In her purse was a check registry that had a list of accounts and passwords and stuff like that. And when I went to visit her one time when she was in the hospital, that was the first time I'd ever seen this. Mm-hmm. And so I was sitting with her going through some of her finances, trying to coordinate things with her cancer that she was dealing with. And had I not made a copy of that list, whenever she passed away, No one knew that existed. And I just happened to look at some of the abbreviations on the list, and they looked like the abbreviations for the name of a life insurance company. And so I called, did some red tape back and forth, trying to get them to finally recognize that we're trying to identify who the beneficiary is. And so once we found out who the beneficiary is, they finally talked to that person. They wouldn't talk to me because I wasn't listed as the beneficiary on the account. So there was no written list of, okay, this is the life insurance policy. Yep. This is who the beneficiary is. This is the contact information. As you, Elizabeth, you mentioned that guy had that spreadsheet all laid out.
Yes.
I can imagine that brought so much peace to the family because there wasn't looking through an old check register to trying to determine what passwords are valid and what passwords aren't.
Yep.
You know, you have it all written out. You know who to contact. You know who's the beneficiary. You know all of this stuff. That brings so much peace because now you can actually.
You don't have
grieve.
to share that with anybody. You've got it in a box under your bed.
I have a box, Kristen. I have a box underneath my bed or in safe deposit box number 52. I know where it is. The key is hanging behind the closet door. My kids know where to go to find that information. They don't need access to it now, but they know where it is.
Yep.
That I can just imagine the level of peace that brings because you don't have to worry about the finances. You can actually grieve the person and not try and clean up their mess.
Yep. Absolutely. One trick that I think, or not trick, but one avenue to getting mom and dad to consider that, again, thinking of life events, because I didn't answer your question before about age, retirement or death.
Yeah.
Both important times to visit a lawyer. And I would say don't let mom go alone. So if mom and dad are going to go see a lawyer, see if you can come with them.
Yeah.
Because if you have a good estate planning lawyer, they're going to ask all of the list of assets that you would otherwise need to know because they're making a list themselves.
Right.
A probate situation the same way. So, okay, what did you guys own together? And then we're listing all these things. Oh, yeah, I got that life insurance and somebody knocked on my door 50 years ago. Would have never mentioned that to my kid.
Right.
But you can get that information. So sometimes I think it's very effective. I have kids schedule appointments with me that live out of town for when they're in town. And then they come with mom. And then we just do it all together. We're all on the same page.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So any last minute advice that you guys would like to share regarding how to care for parents, how to recognize signs of abuse, any of the topics that we've covered so far today?
Yeah, I think you've already said early and often. I think that that's important in regards to making living decisions as well.
Yeah.
I mentioned my grandmother earlier. Her and my grandfather decided to move out of their 3-story home at maybe, gosh, I'm not sure I know their ages, 70 maybe. But so then did the process of the estate sale, moved out, chose a independent living that went on up to assisted and memory care that they went together while they were still able-bodied, driving, doing all the things. Grandpa died about 5 years later, but Grandma had already had a chance to build all the networks she needed. They had voluntarily made a decision that was in regards to their living, their finances, and it didn't fall to after they'd had that health incident or death that the kids then had to come and try and sort it out. So as much as you can, nobody wants to leave their home. Nobody wants to do those things. But if you can be in control of those decisions, you get to make them for yourself instead of things happen to you. And that can help protect you too.
Absolutely.
Just communicate with your friends and your family. Well, your trusted friends, that are maybe kind of like family. And, don't be embarrassed about your situation.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Leave your pride at the door.
Absolutely. Well, that is all the time that we have for this edition of Between the T's. I do want to thank my guests, Kristen Ishihara with the Ishihara and Parker Law Firm and Elizabeth Hutchinsons from the Wealth Management Division at Texas Bank and Trust for being on the program with me today. As a reminder, the information we discussed is for educational purposes only, so please be sure to speak with your own legal and financial professionals in your area about your specific needs. The investment products offered by Texas Bank and Trust are not deposits or obligations of Texas Bank and Trust, not guaranteed by Texas Bank and Trust, not insured by the FDIC or any other federal government agency, and may go down in value. Between the T's is a production of TBT Studios and Texas Bank and Trust. And until next time, remember that knowledge is power when it's shared between the T's. Thanks for joining us.